He made me believe that my family had loved him more than they loved me, and if I ever told anyone that he would kill me, or that I've got no family around me and they're far away from me, so he could do anything with me as he liked. I didn't try to defend myself or anything. I just cried, and that was it.
After I left her, I went to visit her, and I did say to her, I said, you look run down. And she said, yeah, I'm not enjoying my life. I'm doing just exactly what he tells me to do, cleaning and cooking and everything else that he wanted her to do.
On one occasion, we just had guests, and in my culture, women aren't, when they're married to their husbands, they're not allowed to call them by their names. Okay. So in front of the guest, I had called him by his name. So after the guest left, he told me that if I called him by his name the next time, even if there was a guest, he would stick a knife in me, throw a knife in me, no matter how far within that room I was from him. I tried to explain to him that we're living in Britain, in the UK, and I was shocked because it's just a name. It's not going to do any harm.
He was, physically, verbally, emotionally, and every other way you can think of, abusing her, degrading her. All you're good for is doing, being a housewife, and for something, for this and for that. You're not good for nothing else.
So he was getting worse and worse. Some of the times that he had beat me up or he was abusive towards me, I had to write it down in a diary. Mm-hmm. And I have taken some pictures of my body, when he's beating me up, the bruises and stuff like that, and the clothes that he's ripped off me. But he had got hold of them, and he knew that I wrote it down in a diary. So he destroyed them all. And because he had kicked me so much, in the head, my lips were bleeding, my ears were bleeding, and he had twisted my hand really strongly. That still one of the bones, it has stand out from my other wrist. From then I couldn't remember things so good. When he kicked my head in, that really affected me. Now I've got loss of memory, I can't remember things, and most of the times when I'm cleaning my ears, it bleeds.
That's only one example out of many, many occasions when he was either physically or sexually abusive towards her. So that Banaz kept a secret from her family while she was trying to be a good wife to her husband. But eventually one of her sisters found out. And through that sister, the rest of the family were made aware, and Ali was challenged about his behaviour. And he admitted, yeah, I do beat your daughter, but it's because she's disrespectful. And I do force her to have sex, but, only when she says no. So that is something the family found acceptable and sent her back to try harder to be a better wife to her husband.
She wanted to leave him and to have a different life, to go back home and stay with my mum and my dad. My dad wasn't happy. And the community started turning on my family and my uncle and my dad, and had meetings about it. And the decision was made by my family, male members.
I left him several times. I went back to my parents. But because for a Muslim female like me, it's very hard to get a divorce, and so I had to go back to him several times.
Because it's always, the men that get together and discuss whose life, discuss my sister's life. That's who it was that decided, the men.
I was brainwashed into it would be how I would be putting shame onto the family if I got divorced or separated from him. we'd have meetings with my parents, all of the family sit down. Because I had no other choice but to go back to him.
Banaz did go back and did try harder to be a better wife and to please her husband, but eventually she couldn't take any more of that.
A couple of months after, I made up on my mind that I wanted divorce. So I made his dinner. I sat at the table and put his dinner. I had a coffee in my hands and I was just watching the TV. He said to me, look at yourself in the mirror, like how you've become so skinny and ugly. And I was nothing but a whore. And so straight away with his mobile, I called my mom and I said that I want a divorce, no matter what, by this afternoon. I was really angry, shouting down the phone. And I packed some of my personal things, just like brushes and things, and I left. I think that was the last argument that we had.
She just had enough. I think it was just a time for her to just leave it all and just, get away from that. But of course, leaving your husband in my culture is not allowed. It's the worst thing to do for a woman.
In interview, Mahmoud described him as the David Beckham of son-in-laws. He really thought very, very highly of Ali Abbas, even knowing what he had done to his daughter. He was someone that was held in very high regard, which is, all the more reason when Banaz did leave her husband, it's brought shame, it's embarrassed them. She's failed to live up to the standards of a good wife. So it's brought shame on the family here in the UK. It's brought shame on the family back in Iraqi Kurdistan. So, it's no small thing, it's a big deal.
You have to imagine what it's like to want to come forward and report or tell somebody about what's happening to you in your home. Everything that you knew and everything that you loved will have to be given up the moment you report this to somebody. Everything, your family, your friends, where you grew up, all the people around you.
Women from communities that have this honour ethos are they're under a form of constant surveillance. It's the eyes of the community, it's the young men of the community that are looking for them, that are keeping an eye out for any behaviour that's untoward, and that they're feeding this back constantly into the family. And it's this kind of constant surveillance that women get used to.
The way they dress, the way they fashion their hair, the makeup they wear, the friends they keep, the social hours they keep, where they go out, who they spoke to, what was said. They do not have the freedoms which a white Anglo-Saxon woman would have. They have to conform to these cultural norms. If they don't, they fall out of favour. If you fall out of favour, you know what's going to happen to you as an Asian female. Men ain't going to go against the system. Why would they? They get fed, they get looked after, they get sexual intercourse when they want it. They got everything on the table for them.
I've certainly seen lots of young people who I thought would be really enlightened and really educated actually do hold these views. And I've tried to think about why that might be, and a lot of them are really confused. There's an identity crisis here. They feel they don't belong, and they think that they need to be traditional Pakistani or traditional Middle Eastern to give them an identity, and with that comes the customs that those areas used to have. One boy told me that he wanted me to realise what he was feeling, and he said, yeah, man is a piece of gold and woman is a piece of silk, and if you drop a piece of gold in mud, you can wipe it clean, but if you drop a piece of silk in mud, it's stained forever. And his perception of women was that they're tainted. They are forever tainted. They think that allowing girls their own choices is somehow diminishing the honour of the family.
After she left her husband, Banaz met Rahmat.
I think Banaz suddenly found a lot of freedom and a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure in meeting Ramat.
Originally, theirs was just a friendship. They started to see each other and it developed into a full-blown relationship.
Rahmat, he's a lovely guy. They planned to have kids, they had names, they had plans for everything, yep.
The police recovered dozens of texts between Banaz and Rahmat. She contacted him every morning and every night, just before bed.
After Banaz left her husband, she was worried that men were following her in the street, and she felt that they had been sent by her husband.
I recognised my face, and he hasn't come to my house ever, but I've seen him on occasions on weddings and that. And even now when I go out, I mean, one guy, as soon as I came out of the house, he was following me with a car. I heard someone calling my name in my language. So I turned around and he told me that he should give me a lift and I should go into his car. And I said no and just put my head down and keep walking. So that day he was just following me. People following me. Or still now they follow me. And that was the main reason that I came to the police station.
Okay.
That in the future or at any time, if anything happens to me, it's them.
If ever you're worried or afraid for your own safety, you must contact us straight away.
Yeah.
All right, I don't want you worrying, we can get somebody out. Even if it turns out to be nothing, at least, for your own peace of mind.